Hey everyone, and welcome to my first YouTube video. My name's Swetaa and I'm just your average makeup lover from New Zealand. I swear, I've been meaning to start my YouTube channel for so many years, but I've always just made up excuses. But today is the day. I have been watching YouTube for so many years now. I swear it's been like 5 years. Back in the day when it wasn't really a big thing, but it was kind of becoming a big thing. I used to love watching YouTubers review products, see how they were. But when it actually came to getting the products in New Zealand, let me tell you, it was so tough. New Zealand is literally on the other side of the world. It is as far away from anything as you can possibly get. So it was really hard getting things to New Zealand unless you wanted to pay like $50 for shipping, or unless you wanted to use like a forwarding service, because at the time not many brands would actually ship here. So I used to watch Sienna so religiously, and I still do. The reason why is because she's from New Zealand, and so when she was reviewing products, she would actually tell us how she got them to New Zealand, which was so good. The only frustrating thing about that was that obviously Shannon's lighter than me, and so when she would review products, things would look bloody amazing on her, and then I would get so excited and order exactly the same product. But then when I would try it out, it was just, obviously it just didn't work for my skin tone. To cut a long story short, that's why I'm here. I'm here for my brown girls in New Zealand. Obviously this channel is for everyone, but that's my target audience. That is who I relate to because that's who I am. So I have put quite a bit of thought into what my first video was going to be. And the number one question that I get asked is, what's your favorite foundation? So today I'm going to talk about my top 10 foundations, not in any particular order because I'm not ready to commit to a number one holy grail foundation. So I'm going to stop talking, I'm going to get into the review of the foundations, and yeah, let's get into the review. So for reference, I can be 2 different shades. 80% of the time I'm NC42, which is my like winter pale shade. That's what I am right now. Then I can also be NC45 in the summer when I get a bit of a tan. The reason I'm using NC is because I can guarantee you guys that any brown person that you meet will know what their MAC shade is. I think this is because MAC do a really good shade range and also a really good undertone for like medium to darker skin tones. And also I feel back in the day, MAC was probably one of the only brands that catered to like medium to darker skin tones. So if you were wearing makeup like 4 to 5 years ago, then MAC was probably one of the only brands you could wear foundation from. I am dry around my mouth, oily AF around my nose and my forehead, and then I'm normal just here. So in a way it's the worst, but also the best because I can accurately review like so many foundations. So the first foundation I'm going to talk about is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Foundation. I am in the shade 360, which matches me perfectly when I'm NC42. So I got this foundation when I was in Singapore. Unfortunately, there's nowhere in New Zealand where you can actually try this foundation out. You'll have to order it from either the Fenty Beauty website or Sephora. I would probably suggest the Sephora website because I'm pretty sure they've got free shipping over a certain amount. This one actually comes with 32 mils and it's 56 New Zealand dollars. And so it's 2 mils more than your stock standard, which is usually 30. So $56 isn't bad for a foundation in New Zealand. This foundation is more on the matte side, but it's not drying, if that makes sense. It doesn't dry me out here, but it also keeps my oil at bay around my nose, which is what I love about it. If you have dry skin, you're probably not going to love this one, just because it is on the matte side. But I feel if you just put sort of like a dewy primer underneath, you'd have no problems. It lasts all day. The only thing with this foundation is that it does oxidize about 0.5 of a shade darker. To be honest, I don't really notice it. It definitely does go slightly darker, but it's not something that I notice very often, and by the time I've sort of contoured and concealed, there's hardly any difference. If you do get a chance to try it in store, what I suggest is try a few shades on your hand, walk around the store for maybe half an hour, and then that would probably be the true colour that it actually is. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I am in the shade Caramel, which matches me when I'm NC45. So this one comes with your average 30 mils and it is 62 New Zealand dollars. So that's also like pretty average for a foundation. It's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive either. The thing that I love about Too Faced is that they also do a really good shade range. So this isn't one of the darkest ones. There's like 5 or 6 more shades after this one. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the one that I actually wore on my wedding day. And it's the only foundation, I think, yeah. It's the only foundation that I've ever repurchased another bottle of. So technically I guess that makes it my favourite. But like I said, I'm not ready to commit to a number one yet. This one is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. And I picked this up when I was in London. I got shade matched when I was there about 3 years ago. And so I'm in the shade 9, which is perfect for me when I'm NC42. It's a really good neutral olive undertone foundation. The only problem I have with this foundation is that you can't get it in New Zealand. There's nowhere currently that stocks the Giorgio Armani makeup brand at the moment. But I do hear that Smith & Co's in Auckland is about to get a Giorgio Armani makeup counter. I think it's in July. What can I say about this foundation? This foundation and this foundation, very similar. They're both light skin, both medium buildable to full coverage. Both get a little bit oily around the nose just because it is sort of like more of a dewy, luminous kind of finish. There's just something about this foundation, I just can't quite put my fingers on it, but it's just such a beautiful foundation. Apart from breaking up around my nose, I just have nothing bad to say about it. The only other issue I have with this foundation, not that you get 30 mils, but you do get 30 mils. But it's also very expensive. I think I paid around £45 for it, which equates to about 90 New Zealand dollars. I'm not too sure how much Smith & Co's is going to retail it for, but I can imagine it's probably going to be around 90 to 100 New Zealand dollars, which is really, really expensive for a foundation. This and this are sort of foundations you can wear on an everyday basis. This one more so because of the price. This one I don't think you'd want to be wearing a $90 foundation every day. So I feel like I've just been talking about high-end products. So why don't we get a few drugstore foundations in the mix? So the next one I'm going to talk about is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. So I've got the shade 322 here, and I don't know if it's a perfect match. 322 matches me when I'm NC42, so at the moment. It's actually the one I'm wearing today. And like once it's blended in, it's fine, but when I first put it on, there's just something about it that's just a little bit off. So this one I actually picked up from Countdown, which is our supermarket. And they were having like 40% off, and I think I picked it up for like $15. So cheap. At Farmers, it retails for $27, which is really, really good for a foundation. This foundation for a drugstore is out of this world. Like not even for drugstore, just in general, it's an amazing foundation. Definitely a matte finish, doesn't oil around my nose, doesn't dry me out around the mouth, lasts all day. If you've got oily skin, I feel like you would love this because it would just like control your oil so well. Apart from the shade range, there's nothing bad I can say about this foundation. I believe it's 330 that matches me when I'm NC45, and then like I said, the 322 matches me when I'm NC42. So this one also comes with 30 mils, and for $27, like you can't really go wrong. You could probably afford to get more than one and mix if you can't find your correct shade. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Foundation. And so I am in the shade Gingerbread 430N, which matches me beautifully when I'm NC45. The one down from this, which is 420, matches me when I'm NC42. The name of this foundation is very accurate. It's like a filter over your face. It's super high coverage. It blends out so beautifully. I feel like it would suit oily and dry because it's neither, if that makes sense. It's kind of in between, so it wouldn't make anyone that's oily look more oily, or it wouldn't make anyone that looks dry very, very dry. I get so many compliments when I wear this one. Everyone asks me what foundation I'm wearing. I got mine from the Huda Beauty website because at the time Sephora was out of my shade, so I had to order it from her website. and the shipping was like 30 New Zealand dollars. So in the end, I think I ended up paying about 100 New Zealand dollars to get it to New Zealand, but I think it retails for about $73 on Sephora's website. So if you're looking to try it, then check out Sephora. Like the Fenty one, there's nowhere in New Zealand where you can try it. This one actually comes with 35 mils, which is 5 mils more than your normal. So you're getting a little bit more, but you're still paying quite a hefty price. The only thing about this foundation, it smells like what your grandma's perfume would have smelled like, you know, 10 years ago. So if you do not like strong smells, then probably stay away from this one because the scent it's very obvious. I don't mind the scent at all, like it doesn't bother me, and after a while it does go away, but some people have told me that they get headaches from the smell because it's so strong. The colour match is slightly off. It is a little bit too orange for me. Once it's on, once you've got all your makeup on, no one even notices and it looks absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So next I'm going to talk about the Jouer Essential High Coverage Cream Foundation. This foundation is no joke. It is full coverage. If you do not like full coverage, you will not like this bad boy. It is one of the most full coverage, easy to blend foundations I've ever tried. The colour Nutmeg, which is my NC42 shade, is on point. I have never ever found a foundation that suits me better than this. This one I got from makeup.co.nz. This one actually only comes with 20 mils and it was 55 New Zealand dollars, and makeup.co.nz were doing free shipping at the time. So $55 is pretty dang good for a foundation, especially in New Zealand. This one just lasts all day, it doesn't break up, it doesn't crease, it doesn't cake. It's beautiful. If you want a natural looking foundation, then you will not like this. But if you're after a full coverage, say if you've got more problem skin or like hyperpigmentation, this is going to be your best friend. He's good. He's really good. We've 6 down, 4 to go. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the LA Girl Pro Matte High Definition Longwear Matte Foundation. That is a mouthful. This is what it looks like. I'm in the color Warm Sienna. So when I first put it on my face, I was just like, ooh, that is not the right color, but I decided to keep it on my face because I wanted to test out the foundation, despite the color being like horrendously off. It was like sorcery. After I like powdered and contoured and stuff, it became the same color as my skin. It was like it had molded to the color of me. Like, I know that sounds really weird and I can't explain it. So I got mine from Beauty Bliss, which is not as big as Mecca, but it also stocks like a lot of makeup products that are hard to get in New Zealand. If you're in Beauty Bliss, which is in Wellington and Auckland, I think, they may also have one in Christchurch. Definitely go check it out because they've got testers of this. So this one comes with 30 mils and it was $19. Can we just have a moment of silence? $19 for a foundation. I don't know what they've put in this, but it is beautiful. It's just a great long wearing foundation and it's $19. How can you go wrong with $19? If you've got dry skin, you may not like it, but in saying that, it doesn't dry me out around my mouth. This one's like medium to full coverage. Definitely one of my faves, and it's probably because of the price. I don't know how they can afford to make it so cheap, but I love it. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. I've had mine for so long, it's worn off the name. Everyone and their mums were talking about this foundation sort of like a couple of years ago. I still love it. I have to admit I don't reach for it as much as I used to, especially because I've got so many other foundations that I love. But I still thought it was worth mentioning because it is such a beautiful foundation. So I'm in the shade 4N2 Spice Sand, which matches me when I'm NC42. This one comes with 30 mils and I got mine from Life Pharmacy. I think Farmers stock it as well. So this one in Farmers is $69, which is pretty average price. Actually no, it's a little bit higher than average, I would say. A little bit more on the expensive side. But it's full coverage, it lasts all day. It doesn't crease, it doesn't cake, it doesn't go oily around my nose. It does actually get a little bit dry, just sort of like in here, but it's nothing major, and if I moisturize quite well beforehand, it's fine. The other good thing about this foundation is that it's got SPF in it, which means it's great for an everyday foundation because you don't have to worry about sun protection. The only thing is because of the SPF you may get flashback. I personally haven't noticed it, and I do actually see that a lot of brides wear this on their wedding day and don't have problems with flashback, so I'm not too sure why that is. Usually foundations with SPF will give flashback in flash photography, but this one for some reason doesn't. Maybe it's because it's only SPF 10. Sometimes I love to share it out with maybe one of my not so full coverage foundation, like say my Giorgio Armani or my Too Faced Born This Way. Sometimes if I just add a little bit of this in and use that around my nose, I find that it doesn't get oily or break up as easily. And I do that all the time. Like I mix so many of my foundations just to get the finish that I want, because I like one thing about one foundation and another thing about another, and then you'll put them together and it's just like magic. So that's also a good tip. So the second to last one I'm going to talk about is another drugstore one. This one is the Maybelline Superstay foundation. This is a freaking epic foundation. It is $33. I got mine from Farmers. So Farmers don't actually have the greatest shade range, which really annoys me, because if you go to Maybelline's website, they actually have a really good shade range for this foundation. And then you go to Farmers and they have like 9 shades, and all of them are like the lighter skin tones. So it's really, really hard in New Zealand for medium to darker skin tones to get their colour, because for some reason Farmers just don't stock it, and I'm not really sure what the reasoning is. I'm sure like lots of you other brown girls in New Zealand have noticed that when you go to Farmers it's impossible. I think this, or maybe one darker, was the darkest one that Farmers had, and let's be honest, like I'm not even that dark. I'm definitely like smack bang in the middle medium skin tone, and the fact that I struggle to get my shade at Farmers is just, it's a joke. It's the shade 58 True Caramel, so this is perfect for me at the moment when I'm NC42. It does throw a little bit of pink, I'm not going to lie. It's nothing major. The shade itself is actually perfect. I think just the undertone is a little bit off. I absolutely love the consistency of this foundation. It's very long wearing. It just looks beautiful in the skin. It's so easy to blend. It's more on the matte side versus like the dewier side. This one comes in also 30 mils and 33 New Zealand dollars, so that's great. I'm pretty sure who else stocks this. I'll find out for you. Find out who else stocks it in New Zealand. So this one you can also get from makeup.co.nz. Maybe they have darker shades, but yeah, Farmers definitely only had, I think maybe one darker than this, or maybe this was it, I can't remember. And last but not least, I've got the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. I'm in the shade Syracuse, which matches me when I'm NC42, and then when I'm NC45 I use the shade Tahoe. Sometimes I actually just mix the two together. Love, love, love. People always ask me what I think of this versus the NARS Sheer Glow, which actually used to be one of my holy grail foundations when it first came out, and this one just passes it by far. With this one you still get the luminosity, but you don't get the oiliness, and I don't know, they must have obviously perfected the formula, because I find this like 10 times better than the NARS Sheer Glow. I find the packaging nicer, I find like sort of everything about this foundation better. I got mine from Mecca, and Mecca stocks the whole shade range, which is great. It's $78 and you get 30 mils, which is pretty pricey for a foundation, I would have to say. I feel like a lot of the other ones that I've talked about, they sort of suit one skin type over another, whereas this one kind of just molds to all skin types, which is what I love about it. And I love that NARS do a really good shade range. So there we have it, guys, my top 10 foundations, not in any particular order, but 10 foundations that I absolutely swear by. Thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble through my first video. It's been so much fun, also a little bit awkward talking to a camera, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. Please let me know down below what videos you want to see me film next. I will see all of you beautiful people in my next video. Bye!